Good evening, Chantel. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Hi, Virginia. You guys did great. Those were not easy finals, were they?
No, the first one, no.
Yeah. But you know something? I'll tell you a secret. When I was in pharmacy school, um, one of the most fortunate things that happened, my first semester, I worked as a technician, and so I already knew what pills looked like. That was the hardest thing for students to memorize: a drug brand name, a generic name, and to be able to go to a table and see 50 different pills and be able to identify it. And so I had this huge advantage over everybody, but because of that, I had a 4.0. I was in the honors fraternity. In the honors fraternity, they had a file cabinet and they had a copy of every test every teacher had ever given. And I learned a long time ago, one of the best ways to learn the material a teacher wants you to learn for a course is to study one of their tests. That test represents everything that is the goal. Oh, what am I doing wrong here? Okay, here's all right, actually good. So I know that the pharmacology, I'll tell you that like I helped y'all out a little bit on that one, but it was a tough test, and I guarantee you, um, 3 weeks from now, if y'all were to have to just a shot, take that as a pop quiz, I wouldn't do that to you, but you guys would remember so much more of it than you realize. But I'm very proud of you guys. So you guys did great. And so I'm gonna talk about it tonight, just about these next two courses. Now that we're kind of getting into the accustomed to these online classes and things, and there's some more flexibility because for a long while, for the first several days, y'all only had a very limited time window to get assignments done, and if you didn't finish them, then you didn't get credit. And now they're more flexible with that, so I'm glad for that because just different things happen, especially if somebody doesn't happen to have internet access or just any number of reasons. So I know that Elena probably won't be here. I've got everybody but. So I'm only missing Miss Chantel. So Brianna. And well, this is being recorded, so I'm going to go ahead and get started because that's another thing I don't want to do. I don't want to get started on a Zoom meeting and have y'all just have to listen to chit chat for 10 minutes till we get started. Let me just make sure it's recording. Okay, it's recording. Okay, so we've got two courses that start today. We've got inventory maintenance, and we've got pharmacy law and ethics. Personally, I think pharmacy law and ethics is one of the most interesting, most fun courses in the pharmacy program. You're going to find with most of our laws, they were invented, they came about because something horrible happened and a law was introduced to make sure it didn't happen again. So like one of our first most important laws in 1937, we didn't have any liquid antibiotics. The only antibiotic we had in 1937 was sulfur. It was a great big tablet. It tasted horrible. But Massengill, they're famous for making feminine products like the Massengill douche. A pharmacist that worked for Massengill, he made sulfanilamide, a sulfur antibiotic that was a suspension. It tasted great. They tested it on young college men to make sure it was okay to give to humans. And then they got the approval and they shipped it out. Well, they shipped it out on a Friday. By Saturday, 107 children under the age of 9 had died. This is in 1937. So they didn't have television. They had radio, but back then they had blue laws. Businesses were closed on the weekends and doctors. So they went through the president, called governors, who called mayors, who called city leaders to get the word out, do not give this medicine. And it turned out that what the chemist overlooked was when he combined the ingredients, it turned it into the same thing that's basically antifreeze. Antifreeze tastes very good. When they tested it, it was on college young men, healthy young men, not on little children. So when it was released and got out and was taken by little children, 107 children died, and there was about 300 children that ended up with kidney failure. So immediately the nation says, we won't stand for this. They ended up creating the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938. In 1938, any new drug, the only way it'd be approved is if it had been proven to be safe. So that's just an example. And it's the same thing with baby car seats. I don't know about you guys, but when I was growing up, it was common to stick 12 kids in the back of a pickup truck and ride around town and have a great time. And then, of course, we know better than that now. Then whenever they realized there were car accidents where infants were being hurt, they designed car seats. But when you're a mother and you're bringing your baby home from the hospital, what do you want to do? You want to hold that little baby in your arms in the front seat. And they realized that's a mistake. So then they have this baby seat but when it was facing forward in the back, it was a projectile. So even after they made it a law, you have a baby seat, then they made more every year or two, new laws were introduced in response to something bad that happened. And that's what you're going to find has happened throughout pharmacy law. So I really enjoy pharmacy law. I think y'all are going to enjoy it. And then plus you're going to get to do research. You're going to be shocked at just how clever, devious, and desperate pharmacists and pharmacy technicians can be. It usually comes to, like, I read one story where one woman, she just had a migraine, and in the bottom of a bottle of 500 tablets, there was a broken tablet. And by law, you can even lose up to 3% of your inventory, and it doesn't matter. Nobody's gonna care about it. So she knew nobody's gonna notice that half a tablet, and she took it. But then a couple of days later, she was stressed out and feeling some pressure from putting up an order. She took another half a tablet, and then 2 weeks later, she took another tablet, and then it started getting easier and easier and easier. By the time she got caught, when they went back on videotape, they have her stealing over 150,000 tablets of Norco. And she got bold about it. I mean, she even put a bottle of 500 pills in the front of her scrubs and just walked out. Like she was pregnant, and nobody really questioned that she was just looked a little bit awkward. So anyhow, there's this. So you're gonna like the law. Well, let's get on to I'm gonna show you with our inventory management and inventory maintenance. So now go to your inventory maintenance. When you go to your Blackboard, of course, here's where your announcements will be. Your course syllabus is here. When you click on your course syllabus, you're going to see we have a revised syllabus that's specifically revised because of the COVID-19. And so this is a 15-hour course, 15 hours in class, 15 hours in lab. Now we're going to be doing some lab exercises online, but this is one class where we're going to have to, when we get back to campus, we're going to work these 15 lab hours in. And in part, you think about it, like we have practices where you're going to receive a tote and it's going to be filled with mock medicines, and it's going to have an invoice inside, and that might not have all the correct medicines. And you're going to have to identify that. Or there might be a bottle in there that's expired, or there might be an extra bottle, and you need to know what do I do with this? And that's not really something we're able to do over the internet or practice at home. I don't think you'll have totes and practice drugs at home. I do. but anyhow, that's something we're going to work into school when we get back. However, we have the 15 hours of class, and we're going to have some lab exercises. There we go. Hello, Brianna. And so this is recorded. You haven't really missed much, but you're able to go watch the recording for any part that you did miss. Right now, we're just going over the syllabus for inventory maintenance. So one thing about the syllabus, that's a couple of things that are very important. It shows you how the grades are broken down. And you're going to see the final exam. In the past, the final exam was 30%. But they've changed that. They've made the final exam only 15%. And then in the past, assignments, they were much lower. They were like 15%, and other things were higher. But when you're taking tests and quizzes over the internet, you don't have that same degree of proctoring or monitoring. And so they've given them a little less weight, and there's more weight on the assignments. With your assignments, as long as you do the assignment, you're going to be just fine. The only problem is if you don't do the assignment, and that's when you'll get a 0, because a 0, just 1 0, will throw your whole grade off. So whenever I give you an assignment, I am extending the deadline dates just to account for any internet connection problems, any issues that might pop up. Like I was hospitalized just for 1 day last year, but I wasn't able to even telephone anybody. I was just unreachable. And had I been a student, my teacher would have thought, like, what's going on with this guy? He's like, not even reached out to me or whatever. So things happen and you aren't even able to communicate with somebody. So because of that, like if we have an assignment for today, I want you to try your best to get it done today, but the deadline will be extended a day or two to give you a chance to get it done. Also, if I send you an email to alert you that there's something that hadn't been completed, give it your immediate attention, because there's no reason with these assignments you're going to find most of them you're able to give it repeated attempts. I take the highest grade. There's some assignments that looks like you're getting a percent score, but it's really a complete or a not. So even if you make a 70% on one of the assignment exercises, it actually turns out to be 100. If you don't do it, it's a 0. Then further on down in the syllabus, it goes over our course objectives. So this is something, by the time we get to the end of the course, you're going to be able to look at your course objectives and you're going to know, so what is a formulary? How does it influence the products a pharmacy carries and what we use to select in dispensing medications? What's the importance of contacting a pharmacist if a doctor writes for something that's not on your formulary? And so every one of these, actually, I have a daily lesson plan, and we're going to be going through these. This time, now one of the approaches I'm taking this time, and we're going to see how it goes, but I think it's going to be better for everybody. I'm going to be giving you something to read and work on for 1 or 2 days. Then I'm going to have a lecture. After the lecture, one of the assignments will be for you to submit any questions you have over the material. Because when we have the Zoom, it's not always perfectly convenient for you to ask a question, or you might not think of something until afterwards. But after you've read through the material, after you've heard a presentation, if there's some question you've had on one of the assignments or something you don't understand, by simply putting it in an assignment that just says, you can write, I don't have any questions. That can be your answer to the assignment. Or you might say, I don't understand why in NDC sometimes there's only 3 digits. What do I do? If you have a question, chances are somebody else has that same question or a similar question. But I do want y'all to encourage you to go look at the syllabus. It's in your inventory, both law and inventory management. They have your syllabus, and you read through them. And just know we're going to cover everything that you read here. If you read anything here and we haven't covered it as it gets towards the end of the course, simply say, Dr. Purrier, we didn't talk about devices and how they're arranged. What is that? What does that mean? I don't even understand. I can't find it in the book. And I can explain it to you. In the classroom, I can show you in a lab, because you can see there's a reason we place things where we place them and how. But this is all, I should be covering all of it. The other thing, and I'm going to show you with the law. So you'll see this is an extensive list of what we're covering, but you're going to find we have inventory maintenance is a whole chapter in the certification exam review book. It's chapter 9. And then it's a chapter in your pharmacy practice, chapter 7. And I'll be giving you this when I give you the assignments. And then we're even covering it some in the pharmacy calculations book. But you're going to see all of this until you're very, very clear on it. As a matter of fact, one thing we're going to cover is it's both in law and inventory maintenance. How does a drug go from being discovered to being approved and reaching the market? And one of the very best explanations that's in your pharmacology book, chapter 1. So one day you're going to have an assignment and I'll give you the page numbers. You're going to read the assignment and you're just going to re-summarize it. And you'll hear me say over and over and over, it's extremely important. I want you to be able to read something, and then when you write your answer, use your own words. Try to remember it without having to look back. When you tell a story, tell it the way you would tell it to your children or to a friend or to a classmate. Just reword it using your own words. You're more likely going to remember something if you use your own words than if you try, like, I'll just give you an example, like on a drug card, somebody had written something about a contraindication was a cross-sensitivity to pyroluria. And I'm thinking, do you know what that word is? So trust me, it's very, very common, especially I've had in the day classes where I've had multiple, like 17 students. They turn in their cards and it takes forever to go through them. And I'll see a lot of times students just are writing down so much information, but they're really just copying it and not understanding it. And part of what my job is to try to help you guys learn to really whittle things down. We got a good start in last pharmacology. This next sequence, so in 3.5 weeks, you're going to enjoy the pharmacology because we're going to be doing a lot of drug endings. You're going to do one drug ending. You'll make a drug card for it. And then you're going to find you're going to have about 9 or 10 drugs that are almost identical. And each one of their cards is going to be just about the same. And then you're going to start saying, oh, now I see. So all I need to know is this increases potassium. This can't be taken if somebody's pregnant. It can cause a dry cough. And so that's it. Instead of, when you look in the book, those books, if they whittled it down, they wouldn't be so thick, but they're massive because they just contain so much extraneous information, so much more than you need to know. So while I'm here, I'll just go to the law. For the law, it's the same thing. You have the breakdown of how the grades are given. You have quizzes, assignments, PPS, that's attendance, that's participation in class if we have any group activities, discussion board, portfolio. We're going to talk about the portfolio in just a second. That's one of the biggest grades for the class for law. And I'm going to I'll show you an example of a student's portfolio project. So you'll see what you'll be having several hours. There'll be several nights where you'll have at least an hour that night, every night, to work on your portfolio project. And then it is something that you're going to have to spend some time outside of class working on your portfolio project. I'll show you where the link is in the law. You can see the list of what you can choose from. And then you have to submit to me like your interest. I want to do my portfolio on this, and then I'll authorize it. And then midway in the course, I'll just ask for an update on where you're at, just to make sure that people are kind of headed in the right direction and not just waiting to the last minute. So, so like for tonight, and tonight for your assignment, so your assignment for tonight, it's one that y'all have done before. And so I think you're going to recognize it, but it's the markup and markdown. It's 6 math questions, and you get 3 attempts. So if you try it and you don't do well, as you're doing it, make sure you write down notes, take notes, and then look at your wrong answers, and then you can repeat it. You can get 100. You'll get 100 on it. There's a PowerPoint, and it's in resources, and it's one, like I said, that y'all have seen before. It's the calculating markup markdowns. And so here you can go to the PowerPoint for just a review. But I think that you'll find if you just go directly to the assignment, you'll remember doing it in the math. So for tonight in inventory management, you just have to do this one assignment, and you click on it. It won't take you very long to do. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to math. So now what I am going to have you do, I will give tomorrow's announcement. I'll give you the pages that I want you to start reviewing in inventory maintenance, and I'm going to give you a list. Does everybody have an ability to print? Like if I put a list of terms for you to write out the definition or type out the definition, because if you can print it and just handwrite it and take a picture, or you might just have to handwrite it, the whole thing. But for inventory maintenance, tomorrow night, you're going to get a sheet that's got a whole lot of terminology, and you'll have to write the term and then write what it means. And then you'll photograph it and turn it in. After that, on Monday, we're going to have 2 lectures. We're going to have a lecture in inventory maintenance, but I want you guys to have read through it so that you have some familiarity with it. Same thing for law. Now, when we get to law, you're going to find out I'm giving you some more things to get started with, because you're going to probably spend more time tonight and maybe even tomorrow night on the law. So in your law course for tonight, you have 2 assignments. One assignment is to select 2 stories. You're going to read the stories, and they're not long. They're short stories, and then just summarize it. You can summarize it in 2 or 3 sentences. You're going to go to resources, and then there's technician, pharmacist, and pharmacy lawsuits. And you can pick any two of these. Each one of these is a story about a pharmacist or a technician that got caught stealing drugs. And so a lot of them, they're just newspaper articles. They're very quick. And so you're going to just read it, summarize it, and then you're going to reference it. And for reference, you can just put, like on this one, you can just put CVS stealing Xanax 1.2019. I don't know exactly where it came from. But so one of the assignments tonight will just be to pick out any 2 of those that's in your resources, and then you're going to summarize it and submit it through here. The second is pharmacy law notes. In this one, you're going to read chapter 2 in the pharmacy law. That's the light blue book, chapter 2. As you're reading through it, I want you just to take notes. And the most important thing when you're taking notes, it's just like you learned how to take notes in career prep. Like if you read a paragraph, you might write a sentence. If you read a law, write down the law and try to briefly summarize as best you can what it means. I don't expect it to be perfect, because part of what I'm doing on Monday is we're going to go through all this and I'm going to give a lecture. But by you doing this in advance, you're going to have an idea of what I'm talking about before I talk about it. Now, 2 things that are very, very important resources. I've posted so if you go to your resources and then click on resources, videos, links, and more, lecture notes summaries. I have a comprehensive course summary, and then this is the same thing, it's just a PDF. So depending on your computer system, the PDF usually opens easier. So 1 and 2 are actually the same. But what it is, let's see if I have it open. What it is it's actually a summary of the entire course. And so you have it there, you can print it out, and you might print it out and take your notes on it, around it, with it. But what this is actually like at the very end of the course, when we go review everything that you needed to have learned during the course, you're going to find it in here. And what happened, I had a student, he's actually been accepted, he's in pharmacy school now. And he was a student that just was always wanting to do more. And so when it was time for a portfolio project, I told him, here's what you can do. You can put your notes into a summary that I'm going to make available to future students. He did an extraordinary job. So it is in your it's in the Blackboard and resources here, lecture notes summaries, and this one's just a PDF. I mean, this one's a Word document, and then this one right here, it's PDF. This one right here, this is the book we're using. It used to come with a workbook, and what this is, and this is, I have the hardest time opening things when I'm in a Zoom. Oh, good. Okay. This used to be the workbook, and what I did was the workbook. Everything that's in black was a workbook question, and then what I have just in regular print is the answers. And so we don't have a workbook with the book anymore. They completely removed it. So it wasn't us or anything. It was just the company makes the book. But because I taught this course when they still had a workbook, so this is something else. And this kind of follows along in the order that you're going to find things as you're reading through the chapter. So this is another tool that you might print up, and you're welcome to print this up and just write your notes as you're going through the chapter. Right as you go through the chapter, and see, for some people, you might read a standard, and as you're reading through it, you might think of an example of something that's substandard, or what you would have, like if you go to a pharmacy to have a prescription filled, the standard is you expect it to be filled correctly and accurately by somebody who knows what they're dispensing. If somebody doesn't know what they're doing, you get the wrong medicine, that's substandard. So you might just make a little note if you have something that comes to mind. But so your 2 assignments for tonight is going to be that summary of the 2. You pick 2 of those. Pick 2 of the lawsuits. Just write a short, brief summary using your own words, and make sure that you just refer to it. Like you can put Berkshire Brothers, that's fine, or Waynesboro Pharmacist, something to reference it, and then your summary. And then the second part is the pharmacy law notes, and it's not due till tomorrow by the end of class. So as you're going through chapter 2, just be taking notes, and then tomorrow you're just going to take a photo and submit it. So I think we're good to go. And what I will do, if anybody has any questions, does anybody have any questions at the moment? Because I know we're going to run out of time. Anybody have any questions? Let's see. Okay, well, if y'all happen to run across a question or something, again, the best way, make sure that you have my telephone number handy. That's really the best way to make sure that you get a hold of me. And my telephone number, it's also posted in announcements. So it's my contact information, and you can call anytime. So it's perfectly fine. So you'll just have the 1 assignment in inventory maintenance tonight. Tomorrow night, you're going to be getting a list, and you're going to start working on filling out the definitions. And then Monday, we're going to have a lecture over inventory maintenance. And then tonight, you're going to do the summary of the 2 lawsuits. And if you have a printer or the availability, print out those, the summaries, and you can make your notes on those. If you can't print it out, just put your notes on regular notebook paper. And then tomorrow night, all you have to do is take 1 photograph, not all your notes. If I just see a 1 page and I see the papers underneath, that's perfectly fine. If somebody does not have access to a printer, let me know, email me, because it'll be worth it. I'll print out whatever materials I know in advance and mail it to you, just because I do want everybody to have the same, it's crummy when you're having to just write everything out. And I have a morning student, she just has her phone, and so it's tougher. Let me show you real quick. I'm going to show you this one student's, this is an example of a portfolio project. That's what I meant to get to. So in law, portfolio project. If you click on portfolio project and click here, it'll bring you a PDF and it gives you this long list of topics you can choose from. And remember, it's 30% of your grades. So you're going to be spending a bit of time putting it together, but you have a ton of options. And even if when you read through there, you don't like any of the possible suggestions, if you have a different idea, just let me know. This is an example of one student's, hers. So what she did was she just made a Jeopardy game. And it was really fun to play. It was a good review for everybody. But so you pick a topic and then she has a question. Everybody reads it. Which of the following is required on the prescription label? The pharmacist's initial, the technician's initial, expiration date, does it have any refills, instructions for use, all the above. And it turns out it was all the above. So she did a great job on this, and I had a lot of different students do Jeopardy presentations. Which controlled substance is not approved for medical use? And so you look at that, that's going to be the Schedule 1. They have no FDA approved medical use. And so you can put images, you can do, so that's just one example. Some people did, they just wrote a paper. Some students did a poster board. So read through the options there for your portfolio. We'll go through those a little bit more detail tomorrow night after I've had a chance to look through them. So everybody, you guys have a great evening. This has been recorded. I'm sure one day when we're all famous, somebody will buy it on eBay. A copy of this. You guys, wake up, wake up. Okay, have a wonderful evening. And then tomorrow night, you'll have an assignment with inventory maintenance. You're just gonna have a long list of a bunch of definitions to write out. And you're gonna finish summarizing chapter 2 in pharmacy practice. And then we're all good. Monday, you just have your notes ready so that we can have lectures. So everyone have a wonderful evening. And tomorrow, call me if you have any questions. Email if you're not able to print up paperwork so that I can make sure. Email and include your mailing address. So you guys have a wonderful evening.